but notice where you feel it. Chaturanga, elbows shade the side ribs. Press up to plank. In those cycling shoes, if you find your lumbar spine rounding into the floor, move your leg. So I've got one hand on the arch of the foot, one hand just a little above the ankle, and crosses over to the right. And then gently move your right thigh away from you, placing them on the blocks. Hi everyone, welcome to class. Namaste. Thanks for coming. This class is a short class on yoga for cyclists. The attempt in this class is to harmonize the body. You do a lot of work with those thighs. You do a lot of work with the feet, the legs, and I would like to see if I can harmonize the body by loosening up some of the overworked areas and working some of the underworked areas. All right. Now, you have an athlete's mind, so the one big thing I want to point out is that in yoga, we're not necessarily looking for the feel of a stretch when we're stretching. We're looking for awareness. We're looking for how does this feel, where do I feel it, etc. Okay? All right, let's begin on the back. If you have some props, it would be really helpful. A strap to begin. If you don't have a strap, you can use a belt, a bath towel, the belt off a bathrobe. All right. Come on down to your back in constructive rest, knees bent, feet on the floor. Place your hands on your belly and feel the breath coming into your low belly. Since you live in constant movement on the bike, we harmonize by bringing in stillness. Bring your right knee into your chest and circle the ankle. Change the direction of the circle and feel, what does this feel like as the joints move around each other? Come to the center, flex the foot, pulling the toes toward you, and then point through the foot, toes away from you. Flex and point, flex and point, flex and point. Now hold behind the thigh, or you can use your strap over the ball of the foot and reach that foot up to the sky. Now pull the outer edge of the foot toward you, and then pull the inner edge of the foot toward you. Outer edge, not very much range of motion there, and inner. Outer and inner, outer and inner. We're going to bend and straighten this leg. Bend the knee into the chest and then lengthen it up to the sky. Bend it, lengthen. It's okay if it doesn't go all the way straight. Bend. And if you're at an angle like this, that's fine too. Bend and lengthen. Try to maintain your lumbar curve. If you find your lumbar spine rounding into the floor, move your leg away from you a bit. Bend and lengthen. Now, lengthen that left leg along the floor. And again, if you need to take the right leg further away to maintain your lumbar curve, do that. Flex the left foot, pressing through the heel. Now lift the left foot 6 to 12 inches off the floor, and then slowly lower that foot down to the ground. Lift it again. Slowly lower. Try to get the thigh bone down first. Can you get that down first? We're Lift up again. What we're doing here is we're stretching the hip flexor on the front of the left leg, the front of the left hip. Reach it down toward the ground. One more time, lift it up, and then try to get that thigh bone down first. It's impossible, but it's helping us to stretch that hip flexor that gets so tight on the bike. Pull the right knee into the chest. Bend your left knee again. Now bring this right leg over to the side. If you're using a strap, you might want to put both ends in the right hand. Okay? I don't know if you can see me, so I'm going to angle myself. So we were here, and now we're bringing this over to the side a bit. Bend the knee and lengthen. Bend the knee, bending at both the hip and the knee, and lengthen. Bend and lengthen. Bend and lengthen. Release the strap off the foot, bring it down to the ground. All right. Other side, put your strap aside for a sec, pull your left knee into the chest, circle the ankle. Other direction, becoming aware of the movements of the joints of the ankle and the foot. Flex the foot, toes toward you, point the foot, toes away. Flex and point. Make sure your right foot is on the ground, the whole right foot. Flex and point, flex and point. Strap, either hold behind the left thigh or strap over the ball of the foot. Now the side to side, bring the outer edge of the foot toward the ground and then the inner edge of the foot toward the ground. Outer and inner. Outer and inner. Outer and inner. Back to center. Now we bend and straighten this left leg. Lengthen, bend, lengthen. Make sure you maintain your lumbar curve here. Where do you feel the stretch? If you feel pain, back off. A little discomfort's okay, but pain, no good. Bend and lengthen. Now, we lengthen the right leg on the floor. Even if you keep the left knee bent a little bit, try to straighten the right. All right. Lift the right leg up off the floor, 6 to 12 inches only, and then slowly lower, trying to get the thigh bone down first. And you may feel a slight stretch, or even a big one, on the front of the right hip. Become aware of that sensation. Lift up. And if you don't have sensation, notice that, right? We're becoming aware of it all. Lift up, lower down, lift up, and lower down. Bend the leg again. Bend the left knee. Bring it over to the left a bit. Both ends of the strap in the left hand. Lengthen and bend. Lengthen and bend. Keep your right knee pointing up at the sky. Lengthen and bend one more time. Lengthen and bend. Take the strap off the foot, place the strap aside. Pull the knees into the chest. Place your hands on your outer shins and reach up toward the ankles and down toward the knees. Up and down. This is just bringing a little heat. And down, up, and then get on the back of the shin, the calf. And then maybe you can bring the knees in a little closer to the chest. All right, knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug. Turn to one side and come up. Grab your ball, therapy ball, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, pink rubber, Spalding high bounce, whatever you got. All right, bend your left leg. You may need to sit up for this if you're a little tighter in the hips. bend your left leg and place this ball right on the front outer ankle. I'm going to come closer so you can see that. So I'm going to place the ball right here, right there. You can see on me there's a tendon there, right there, okay? And it kind of nestles in just in front of the outer bump of the ankle. This is the extensor retinaculum of the ankle, all right? And it's connective tissue that can get pretty tight. So sit up as high as you need. Maybe you sit up on a block or two. Because this isn't about how low you can sit. It's about rolling out this front of the ankle. So we're going to roll now over the front of the ankle. And I'm giving a little downward pressure, not too much, but a little downward pressure. And it doesn't hurt on me. It might on you. I'm just saying don't push it so hard that it hurts. Like I said, discomfort's okay, but not pain. And keep rolling over that. Small range of motion, but big effects. All right, let's do the other side. I'm going to lower myself a little bit because my arms aren't that long. Ball on the front outer ankle, right above the ankle bump, outer bump. And then roll over. So I've got one hand on the arch of the foot, one hand just a little above the ankle, and I'm rocking and giving a little pressure, trying to massage out that extensor retinaculum. Give a little more range of motion to the ankles and the feet. A little harmony in the lower leg. All right, release and place that ball aside. Grab a blanket. Dense blanket is good if you have any sort of one that's not too puffy, but whatever you got. Roll it up. I've got this about that big, and then roll it up, okay? This is a just-in-case blanket. The other blanket, let's put it on the mat, middle way down the mat, okay? Now, come on to the hands and knees. When you're on hands and knees, if it's really bothering your ankles or your feet here, you can place the blanket roll underneath the ankles. So it depends on how tall you are as to where it goes. But make sure your knees are still on the other blanket. So you're on all fours with this optional blanket underneath your ankles. Inhale to cow pose, chest forward and up, lifting your sits bones, lifting your sternum. And then round your spine, head comes down, sits bones go down. You're sort of tucking your tail like a dog scooching away. And then inhale, lift your chest, broaden your collarbone. Exhale, round your spine. Keep going. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Now when you're in the cow position, where the chest is lifted, don't overdo the arch of the low back. To do that, just draw your lower abdomen a little bit toward your heart, a little bit toward your navel or your heart, just to give you a little bit of stability in that low back. Come to a neutral spine. Now wag the tail. Bring your left shoulder toward your left hip, and then your right shoulder toward your right hip. Left, left, right, right. Keep going. We're stretching out the side ribs here. Notice the sensation. Don't try to create sensation. Now stay over to the left. Take your right hand and walk it in front of your left hand and forward. Then take your right leg back to a plank and then cross it over to the left a bit. And then feel that stretch. Start to look over your left shoulder toward your plank foot. Get that major stretch up the side ribs and maybe the outer hip. Notice where. Back to all fours. Left hand walks in front of right. Left foot goes back to plank and crosses over to the right. And then you look over your right shoulder toward that left foot. Big stretch up those left side ribs. Come back to center. Child's pose. Bring your hips back toward your heels. Let your forehead come down toward the ground. Now, if this bothers your knees, take this blanket, either blanket, and place it behind your knees so that you would have to come out of your pose a little bit. Pull this forward so that it's right behind your knees. And then big toes touch, knees apart, forehead comes down. If your forehead doesn't touch the ground, stack your hands in front of you, one fist on top of the other, and place your forehead there. Or you can be right up on the elbows and have your palms on your forehead. We're working with different techniques to make sure that this pose becomes a rest pose, not a painful pose. Bring your hands down to the ground. Come back up to all fours. You may want that blanket under the knees still. I'm going to move my blanket roll. You can keep it if you like it. A dynamic spinal balance. Take your left leg back to hip height and your right arm forward from the shoulder. If this is tough on the wrist, you can have both hands on the ground. Okay. Now we're going to move this. So bring the hand down and the knee down and then reach them back out. Down and out. Draw your navel slightly up toward your spine. The abdomen below the navel would be even better. Reach, reach. Now reach the hand back toward the hip. Leg stays the same. Reach, reach. Now the right arm goes out to an airplane. Left leg stays the same. Reach. Now reach the right arm forward. Left leg goes back. Hold. Make sure you're not sagging into your low back. You're standing up tall on your right knee by firming in your outer right hip, drawing your energy toward the center of your core, above the belly button where the solar plexus is. Reach, reach. Then bring the hand and the knee down. Wag the tail a little bit. Other side. Reach your right leg back to hip height, your left arm forward. We move. Knee down, hand down, reach forward. Down and out. Down, out, down, out. Keep going. Now bring the hand back toward the hip. Back, back, back. Now the hand to airplane. Out. Leg stays the same the whole time. Out. Now reach the left arm forward, right leg back. Hold. Energy pulling toward the solar plexus. area of the abdomen below the navel, drawing upward toward the spine. Come down to all fours, wag the tail. Whew, good work. All right, let's move this blanket out of the way. You can, keep it if you need. We're going to put the knees down for just a little bit. Let's move the blanket, everybody. All right, come into a plank. Just so you know, I have a wrist injury, so I pop up onto my hands like this, but you would be flat on your palms, okay? So you're in plank, you're flat on your palms. There's a long line from your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, rather than a sag, rather than a round, okay? Good plank, all right? Now, chaturanga. We bend the elbows, pin the elbows toward the side body, come down, don't drop the shoulders, press through the heels. Now press back up to the plank, lower down chaturanga, pin those elbows in, tailbone toward the heels, lift up. Now lower all the way down chaturanga to the ground. You can always do that with the knees on the ground. Hands next to your chest, inhale, low cobra. So almost no weight on the hands here. You can see you can almost lift them up. And then bring your forehead down to the mat. Inhale, low cobra, reach long through the big toe, and exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. Bring your hands in front of you, elbows bent, stack one palm on top of the other, and lift your chest up. And you can draw your elbows a little bit closer to you to give yourself a kickstand and prop, as long as this doesn't hurt your low back. Otherwise, walk your elbows further forward. Broaden your collarbone, bring your shoulder blades against your back. Now, if this is already testing your low back, then stay here or even come down a little further. If you think there's more room, prop right onto the forearms, elbows beneath the shoulders. This is Sphinx pose. Elbows are directly beneath the shoulders now, and you broaden across the collarbone. Look straight ahead. Reach long through the inseam of the legs to the big toe. Lower yourself down to the ground, press up to all fours, come into down dog with bent knees. You're on the balls of your feet. Your hands are shoulder width. You have a long spine, not a rounded spine. Bend your knees enough that you can lengthen your spine. Now, keeping the spine long, begin to lengthen the legs. And if you feel your spine rounding, stop. If your spine is staying straight, you can lengthen your legs all the way. Spread your toes out. Come forward to plank, another round. Chaturanga, elbows shave the side ribs. Press up to plank. Chaturanga, press up to plank. Chaturanga all the way down to the mat. Forehead down, legs hip width. Internally rotate the legs a little so the inner thighs are spinning up toward the sky, outer thighs toward the ground. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, come down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Stack your palms out in front of you, elbows bent. Come into the low version of Sphinx. If you feel there's more room, come into the high version of Sphinx. Keep internally rotating those thighs. There's a tendency to turn the legs out here, but we want to turn them in. Reach through the big toe toward the wall behind you. Very nice. Come on up. Down dog. Reach long through the arms, reach the hips back, lift the knees off the ground, and come into your long spine. Now begin to pedal the legs. Lengthen one knee and then the other. Spreading the toes out, reaching the heel toward the ground. When you're in those cycling shoes, I don't know what you call them. Are they cleats? I don't know. Don't think they're called cleats. But you know, your foot is so bound up. So here, spread your toes out, especially the baby toe. Spread it away from the rest. Come down to the knees. Take a rest in your child's pose. If you need to prop with your blankets, go ahead. Come back to all fours. Come into your down dog. Look forward at your hands and bend your knees. Walk forward, feet to the hands. Bend your knees, hands to hips. Come on up to stand. Grab your blocks. If you don't have blocks, anything. Coffee cans. Does anyone get coffee out of a can anymore? Coffee cans, books, something to give you some height. Take your feet wide. Feet are parallel. Fold forward and bring your hands onto your blocks. All right. And you can walk those blocks forward of your shoulders if you like. We're going to bend one knee and then the other. Keeping the heel on the ground. Both heels on the ground as you go side to side. We're stretching the adductors here, the muscles on the inner thighs. Each time you go to the side, you're stretching, well, you're stretching both adductors, but you're stretching more the one of the straight leg. But notice where you feel it. Where you feel it and where I feel it will very likely be different. Yoga is about knowing yourself. I'm sure cycling is somewhat about that as well. Now come to the center, lift your chest, and then fold forward, walking your blocks towards you. If you can touch the floor, go ahead. You don't need your blocks in that case. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, if you have tighter hamstrings, which you very likely do being a cycler, then bend your knees a little bit so that your head can release down. With those bent knees, you can sway your spine a little bit side to side. Now walk your hands forward again. Shimmy your feet, heel toe them a little closer together till you get about hip width. Come into a squat and come down onto the ground. Grab one of your blocks or one of your books. Grab a blanket. Sit up on the blanket. You can sit up on two if you like. Baddha Konasana. I'm going to angle so you can see me. Baddha Konasana is cobbler's pose, or bound angle pose they call it. All right, so I'm going to put the blanket widthwise, I've got it this way, between my feet. You can make it even wider if you like, all right? But that's good for my hips. I think that feels good to me, all right? So it's like a butterfly, right? But I'm long. I'm not pulling my feet as close to me as I can. And I've got the block between the feet. I'm going to lean back on my hands. I'm going to let myself slouch into my low back. See how my shoulders are coming forward? I'm slouching into my low back. And then I'm going to draw the lumbar spine into its natural curve and broaden across my chest. Slouch again. Bring that lumbar curve in. Open the heart. Slouch. Bring the lumbar curve in, open the chest. Now see if you can bring your feet just a couple of inches closer to you. Slouch again. Find your lumbar curve. Slouch again. Can you bring another inch closer to you? Lift your chest, broaden. Slouch. If there's still room, another inch closer to you. Lift your chest up, bring your lumbar curve in, holding that block, a little bit of a squeeze of the block with your feet. And if you think there's still more room, meaning you can create that lumbar curve, bring that block a little closer, and then again, lift up. Nice. Okay, move that block out of the way. We're going to come down onto the back. Actually, bring a block with you. In case, bring one block toward the bottom of your mat and one block toward your head. We're going to stretch the inner thighs and outer hips here. From constructive rest, make a figure 4. So you're crossing your right ankle over your left thigh. And you can see here, I'm making sure that my foot is clearing the thigh, right? So rather than here, I'm going to be here so that I can flex that foot and keep that knee safe, all right? Now, this may already be a big stretch, all right? And if so, then take the block that's down near your foot, put it under your left foot, and that will give you a little bit more of a stretch without hopefully being over the top, all right? And then you can gently move your right thigh away from you. If your head won't touch the ground, place a block or blanket underneath your head. I want your head and neck to be able to relax, all right? If there's room in your hips, bring your legs toward you. Take your right hand, thread it through the figure 4. Take your left hand outside the left thigh, interlace the fingers behind the thigh, and start to pull that thigh toward you. Now there's a tendency for the left hip to swing out to the side. See if you can firm it in. Flex that right foot and pull the leg towards you. Notice if there's any tension in your jaw, any tension in your mind. Bring these feet down to the ground. Other side. Cross left ankle over right thigh. You have the option to put the block under the foot or reach between the legs and hold onto the thigh. You can hold the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. Take deep breaths down into the tight spots. Identify your tight spots. Don't try to do anything. So hard for an athlete. Don't try to do anything. But breathe into those spots that you've identified as tight or bound up, lacking energy. Bring those legs down to the ground. Grab both of your blocks, bring them to the right side of you. Take your arms out to a T. Pick up your hips and shift them over to the left. Knees to the chest and bring them over to the right. Now you have options with these blocks. If you don't need them, if your legs touch the ground, no problem. Go ahead. Open up your chest. If your left shoulder doesn't touch the ground, that's okay. But if it doesn't touch the ground, try propping with the blocks and see if that helps. Some people like to place one of the blocks between the knees, so that's an option as well. In this pose, we're mostly relaxed. It's mostly passive, but we're gonna brighten up the feet a little bit by spreading the toes out. Just a little, don't overdo it. And now that you've been here for a little bit, see if you can scoot your right shoulder blade to the right a little bit and lower your left ribs toward the mat a little bit. Not a bad pose, huh? Feels pretty good. Bring your legs back to the center. Place your blocks to the other side of you. Pick up your hips and shift them over to the right. Knees to the chest and to the left. Placing them on the blocks. Or maybe you want to block between the legs. You can use blankets for this as well. Spread your toes a little. Let your shoulders drop toward the ground. Let them be under the weight of gravity. Shift your left shoulder blade to the left a little bit on your mat. See if you can open your chest a little more. Don't overdo the work. Temples are soft. Skin of the forehead is broad. Bring the legs back to the center. Pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug and a little rocking side to side. I want to do a little breath work to help you work on your awareness of the breath and capacity for breath. Take one of your blankets, open it up so that it's pretty big. This looks like it's about 4 feet by 2 feet. And then I'm going to fold it in thirds. However you would need to fold your blanket to make it anywhere from 4 to 7 inches wide. That there, okay? And place that toward the top of your mat, fringe of the blanket going upward, if you have a fringy blanket. Gonna come down, butt on the floor, back on the blanket, and then I've got this extra room here. You might need a second blanket if you don't have extra room, but it's good to get a lift of the head, so I'm gonna fold that down underneath my head. Fringe is just touching the base of my neck. So find yourself in a position. The reason that we're positioning like this, they call this a pranayama bolster. Pranayama's breath work, and it's a Sanskrit term. The chest is open here, which facilitates the inhale. So that's why we're in this position. It's simply easier to breathe. So here in this position, soften those temples. Soften the muscles of the chin and the throat. Let the breath enter and leave the body at its own rate. Close the lips to breathe through the nose. Very gently closing the lips. Begin to deepen your inhale. And lengthen your inhale. Continue the long, deep inhale and lengthen your exhale. Long, deep inhale, long, sustained exhale. Keeping the face free of tension, the throat free of tension. Now let go of the breath and breathe naturally. Bend your knees and place your feet on the ground. Take your right arm overhead, turn onto your right side, and press yourself up. Sit up on whatever you need to find a comfortable seat. 2 blankets, 2 blocks, 1 block, whatever will allow you to sit comfortably. And if you can't sit comfortably, come down onto your back again with that same propping. We're going to do Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. So take your right hand in front of you, palm face up. Pull down your index and your middle finger so that your ring finger's up and your thumb is up. And those are going to be your pinchers for your nostrils. Excuse me. So, you may want to blow your nose before you do this. A lot of people like to do that. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. With your ring finger, close off your left nostril and breathe out your right. Stay here and inhale through the right. Switch, place your thumb on the right nostril and breathe out the left. Stay here and breathe in the left. Switch and breathe out the right. Inhale through the right. Switch and breathe out the left. Inhale through the left. Switch and breathe out the right. Okay, now that you've had the chance to watch me, lift your heart up, drop your chin toward your chest, and we'll continue this way. Inhale through the right. Switch, exhale through the left. So you're switching at the top of the inhale. Inhale through the left. Switch, breathe out the right. Now you and I breathe at different rates, so I'm going to let you go at your own pace. Switch at the top of the inhale. Don't push the breath. Breathe as you would if you weren't doing the pranayama. Keep that chin bowed. Notice it doesn't take much effort to close off a nostril. Don't press it hard. Now the next time you breathe in through the right, let go at the top, raise the head to neutral and breathe out both nostrils. Breathe naturally. Okay, stay with me. One more pose. This is Shavasana. In Shavasana, we do this at the end of every class. It is a still pose, but I think athletes, even though they move a lot, are actually pretty good at being still. So, because they're just more in tune with their bodies and knowing when they need to be still and when they need to be moving. There's not a lot of nervous energy moving the body. So here I've got, sorry, I didn't mean to put this underneath my hips. I've got one rolled blanket underneath the knees, and then the other blanket I'm going to fold in half to put underneath the head. Both are optional. Come down onto the back. Set that blanket under your head, right. And then take your arms next to you. And put a little space between your arms and your body so that your shoulders can relax. You can wiggle your legs a little side to side to get them to release. And then boom, let them go. Completely passive pose. We'll be here for 2 minutes. Let yourself rest. Bring the attention inward, drawing away from the outside world for just these 2 minutes, exploring your inner world. Rest, rest, rest. Deepen your breathing. Twinkle your fingers and your toes, bringing yourself back into a little bit of movement. Halfway, bring your eyes open. Take one arm over your head and lay it on the ground behind you. Turn onto that side, resting your head on your arm, knees bent like you're laying in a bed. Lengthen your top leg, press your palms down to push yourself up, and come to any seated position. I hope that you were able to harmonize your body, and I hope that you are able to feel that. Yoga is a great way to, I call it cross-harmonize rather than cross-train, to cross-harmonize the body from various sports to come to a place where you feel steady and even and equanimity, or equanimous, I guess is the adjective. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you peace, joy, and love. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye now.